Karen was walking around in the middle of the morning.
Okay. I'd like to go ahead and bring this Tuesday, July 19th, 2016, Warrenton Board of Aldermen meeting to open session. First of all, welcome, and if you would, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's go ahead and move into the consent agenda.
First item is the regular meeting minutes from July 5th, 2016. We have the fuel bid. Recommendation is to accept the bid from the lowest bidder for unleaded fuel from Daily Incorporated for 16 cents off per gallon for 90 days and then 8 cents off per gallon after 90 days. And then the only bidder for diesel fuel, which was Warrenton Oil, for delivered to location. For the auto repair and service bid, it's the recommendation to accept the bid from Warrenton Tire and Muffler for all mechanical work and Auto Lube Express for all oil changes. Then we have approval for the following public works projects to be completed by city crews. Asphalt repairs to Wolf Road in the amount of $35,200. Budgeted amount was $35,200. Asphalt repair on Southwest Street from West Boonslick to West Walton Street in the amount of $4,870. Budgeted amount was $4,900. Asphalt overlay on 2nd Street from Lakeview to Country Circle in the amount of $12,705. The budgeted amount was $12,800. Concrete street repair on Worthington Drive approach at Pinckney Street in the amount of $3,925. Budgeted amount was $4,000. And then the concrete floor at the treatment plant shed in the amount of $5,060. The budgeted amount was $5,100.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, seconded by Alderman Shell Harvey. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderperson Kessley?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Next on the agenda will be hearing from the public. We ask that you come up to the podium, announce who you are, and we'll give you a 5-minute maximum. All right, not seeing anybody, we'll move on to the Board of Aldermen comments.
Comments?
No.
I want to make a comment about the Special Olympics. I was really pleased with the turnout and our officers that hosted the Tip-A-Cop out at El Jimador on Saturday. I thought it went really well. I noticed you didn't have any notes on it on the agenda, so I just wanted to say congratulations.
And our final number is just a little bit more than $4,000, which is
Great.
actually a pretty good event.
That's awesome.
Anybody else? All right, not seeing any. Mayor's comments. Well, I'm going to go ahead and address the white elephant in the room. I am so impressed with how many people came out Saturday. I'm proud that that many people came out, and the turnout was great. I think the announcement was positive. Regardless of what rumors may run around town, I think we're doing good, and I'm glad to see it. So, from my perspective, a positive note on all of it, and thank you for the public for showing up.
Just remained to maybe that we got two.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you very much. And Thursday we have our last and third final meeting at 5:30 here at City Hall. So if you're watching this, please come and be our guest. So, next item would be the discussion topic, changes to the quote-unquote RC1 and RC2 sign code. I'll let any alderman start it out.
Well, in regards to this chapter 425 sign regulations, I was contacted by Casey's corporate office requesting some explanations on the ordinance because they want to do some additional signage. Terry responded very quickly and has the corporate office has gotten back to you, is that correct?
I actually spoke with her on Friday, told her that I would check on the 2 remaining items that she was concerned about. They want to put toppers, what they call tank toppers,
On top of their
on
pumps?
top of the pumps. And they also have some frames for temporary signage. So I told her I would check on those 2 items and get back to her, and I did speak with Chris and Jack today, so I'll be able to call her tomorrow and let her know that both of those things are no problem. She can proceed.
Okay, and there were some signs on the pizza to go, and it was a little bit hard to read through all that, where the X's were, and what you sent to me, or actually what she sent to us, I should say. The bottom line is Casey's, I mean, they've been there a long time, I don't know that anyone has an objection for Casey's to put some signs on their building. I know it's zoned at different zoning, which doesn't really make it fair. Maybe 20 years ago it made it fair at that time, but I would certainly like to see us have Casey's on an even playing field with all their competitors in regards to signage. Because it's zoned different there, is that correct?
Yeah, the RC1 and RC2 zone is one of the most restrictive in relation to signs that we have in the city. We were able to accommodate what Casey's is wanting to do with their temporary signs, but I think your concern was more overall the RC1 and RC2 zoning district and how restrictive that sign regulation is within that district, if I understood
That's
correctly.
correct.
And with that being in my ward, and I remember quite clearly when Casey's tried to move in the first place and build their bigger facility, they chose to build their facility in a residential area. So it wasn't like they built something and then we decided it was going to be residential around them. So as far as a playing field situation, I mean, they've got a pretty fair playing field. They are the only organization south of Main Street for gas. But I personally would not want residential people having blinking neon lights or huge things that stand out in a residential area. I don't have any problem with what we're talking about on the pumps or on the side of their buildings. But anything larger than that or anything that's flashier or brighter, I don't think is appropriate for a residential area.
Oh, I don't disagree at all. I wouldn't want a neon sign in somebody's front yard, but it's just being practical and using common sense. It is a business.
Right.
And if the residents have a problem, my number one concern would be the residents on either side of them.
Yep.
If someone petitioned and says, hey, well, we don't want these signs, then whatever we gotta do to make it right, that's fine.
Yeah.
But just to blanketly say, no, you can't do any of this, I don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote the RC1 years ago in an attempt to make sure that when you drive down 47 between the South Service Road and Main Street, that the appearance of a residential type setting was there, and it didn't give you the impression of strip malls like you see in many of the communities. And that's why when I was writing this and fighting for this, I really wanted to conserve the image of what you were driving through. I was also concerned that the properties, or residential properties on either side, wouldn't deteriorate because of what was going on 47. So, I'm a pretty restrictive person on these signs, and I think it's even worse in the R2 because it's an older, really compacted road, and there's a lot of homes / businesses there. And I think if we're going to make a change, I think we need to really keep in mind what the impact of the change will be on the surrounding properties, on what the community looks like. And I will probably argue on the RC1 just because that's been something that's been, a pet project of mine because I live next to the RC1 there. But, I think we just have to really, I'd rather be more restrictive, but then allow people to have options. But when the options occur, the public in the surrounding area needs to be able to see what those options are, because when Casey's came in, it was not a popular issue with the surrounding properties.
and the people across the street, and I don't know if they're the same people who were there when Casey's came in or not, but there was some people who weren't happy, and I think we need to listen to them, or at least give them the platform which they can take a look at what's being done and say, you know, I have an objection to this, or can't we modify this in some way? A few years ago, we expanded the RC2 between South Service Road and Main to move it across the alley and cover basically the Cherry. So we widened it on the hopes that that would give more availability for parking, so that there could be some other kind of developments along that stretch of the road. And one of the things we talked a lot about was how do you buffer between the business and the residential area? How do you make sure that if lights are put up on a parking lot, that the lights aren't invasive into the neighborhood? And so that was really the focus, was protecting the neighborhood. It wasn't to say, well, why don't we restrict businesses? The primary focus was we want to protect the neighborhood. So those things are always a consideration. I know you're not going to always get everybody who likes those changes, especially when commercial intrudes against residential. I have people that to this day who will still not talk to me because they were so upset because Cherry became the boundary instead of the alley. But I'm open to doing some stuff, but I really think that if we do anything, the public needs to have sufficient notice and sufficient input, because it does impact their life, and that's my issue.
Gary, that's a great point, and I think at the time that was the right decision, and we're still making the right decision. If the public doesn't object to Casey's putting up a different sign, I think we're kind of getting off the point, or maybe I'm getting off the point, or maybe I'm misunderstanding. I agree with the concept of not putting a neon sign in somebody's yard, but can they apply for a permit to put this sign so that we can present it to the public to add, like they have a monument sign that they sent us. It's a real good-looking brick monument sign that's very attractive. I just can't believe why we can't allow them to put that up. I don't know if you've seen the picture of it, Gary.
No, I didn't know anything about this until the packet came in the mail. I
think they already have the monument sign.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought they did.
And if I can just give a little background, because I was here when Casey's came in, and I think it's important to understand this about how this district works so well in this development. The original Casey's only went one lot back. It was right on Highway 47. They purchased the home directly behind them to expand and rebuild the store. The first time they came in, it got voted down. It actually didn't pass. I got a call from Casey's corporate saying, we're going to sue you, and we got that figured out. And I said, you got to go talk to these residents, because the RC district basically forces them to come into compliance with the surrounding neighborhood, because this was basically cutting one street back, and then it wasn't just on 47 anymore, it was cutting into the neighborhood. And that brought a lot of concerns of the residents. Casey's met with the residents, and there was one neighbor that remained, because Casey's completely, because of the way that district is set up, completely designed the ingress and egress of that gas station so that, and the lighting is all directional lighting and all this other stuff, so that it wasn't basically imposing on the neighborhood characteristics. So you could have, and we looked a lot at like Manchester Road in St. Louis County, which is commercial, and then directly behind it residential, as they kind of did that development. So my point being is that I think the district for Casey's worked very well, and I think the proof of it is the fact of the matter that nobody has come and complained about Casey's, because that district kind of forced them to set up with that neighborhood in right directly behind them, and consider the neighbors directly behind them in the residential areas. So, and I just think that's an important piece to take a look at, because I think effectively, as that RC1 and RC2 district develops and continues to develop, that is, I think, what your ultimate goal is, what Casey's is, which is maybe a little bit toned down on the advertisement and whatnot, and some of the stuff that's there, so they can be directly next to a neighbor. And Casey's corporate counsel said, this is our goal, is to be right here. We want to be right here, and we want to be compatible with the neighborhood there. And I think the end result was really good. I think this issue they came up was really a question of temporary signs versus permanent signs, and I think that was kind of a little bit of a red herring, but I think the development itself, the signs they have, they worked with the neighborhood to come up with something that they were acceptable with. And I don't think there's been complaints from the neighborhood since then, because it did work so well with that district.
Well, the neighbors I talked to, no, they don't have any questions about it, and maybe I'm getting confused. For what they want to do, Terry, is it okay for them to do what they want to do?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, I'm not looking to change the world or change the RC2 or RT1. I mean, I think maybe I'm blowing this out of proportion. They simply want to they were told they couldn't put these signs on top of their pumps and a few other minor, which appeared to me minor, and I personally did talk to some of the neighbors, only two, not all of them, and they certainly didn't have any problem with that, because I thought, to me, that would be the right thing to do. If it offends the neighbors, then I certainly wouldn't want to support it, but it doesn't offend the neighbors. Now, do we have to advertise it and put it in a public hearing? Absolutely, because I certainly didn't talk to everybody, but I didn't see a problem with what they sent to me, to what they were asking me to do, or asking us to do.
There was some confusion on the part of the Casey's corporate office person about what was existing and what the store manager was really wanting to do at this point. Because
Okay.
once I actually talked to her on the phone, she had X's marked beside of several different kinds of signs. And after speaking with her, those signs were already in place. And the frames for the temporary signs at the pump were already in place. So all of the things that were marked were existing, or the frames were existing. The additional thing they wanted was to put some yard signs out in the right of way, which we're not governing anymore. We're not the ones who are keeping that compliant. So I explained that to her. And then the pump toppers, which are temporary signs, and then to insert signs into the
frames.
plexiglass holders that are already there. All of those are temporary sign kind of things, so those are all allowed. The monument sign is already in place, so I think there was just some confusion.
Okay, well, I haven't heard back from her, so she must have gotten a satisfactory answer, because it just didn't look to me like they were asking for much.
Yeah, I think it was a confused situation, maybe between the local and the corporate office about what they were really asking for or what was missing.
Okay, so we're making the right steps to accommodate them.
Yes.
That's okay.
You know,
Thank you
my other
very much.
comment is, where I do agree with you definitely is, you know, I think we did a major improvement on the sign ordinances in the commercial area where we stopped trying to count how many squares in the window and how many signs. I think that was ridiculous to enforce. And that kind of change, I don't see that problematic in the C2 or C1 if we re-look at what they're covering windows and facing buildings, because that certainly is something. I think what's, to me, is more intrusive is when you do have an improper monument sign or you do have improper lighting. So, and that's not the case here, so.
Thanks, Terry.
You're welcome.
Anything further on this topic? All right. Well, next item on the agenda will be hearing from the Director of Operations and Finance Officer, Terry Thorne.
My first item this evening is just a review of the monthly report. Nothing really that stands out significantly. There was one employee accident, no injury. This was a vehicle backing into mailboxes. Damage to the vehicle, but no damage to anything other than property. Probably most notable is the increase in the Facebook posts and the new Facebook page likes. There has been a concerted effort by Randy and Dolores to make sure that we're getting information out there on the upcoming interchange election for the sales tax, and to try to provide as much information to the public. So that has generated a lot of activity on our Facebook page. And I think that's probably what's responsible for the 52 new likes to the page, because as long as the page has been there, we've never experienced that volume in such a short period of time. Other than that, really not much that's notable from this monthly report.
Terry, one of my hot buttons, as you know, and everybody over there knows, is the safety of the employees. And I think it's impressive. I use us as an example of an organization that has had prior history and the focus on safety. And so to have, the safety talks and spread them out, I think is really important. And I would encourage everybody to continue that with this heat guy, Brad.
We will do so.
All right, anything else for the monthly report?
No.
All right.
Okay. The other item that I have for you this evening is the agreement for professional services for Crawford Murphy Tilley, CMT. They are the engineering firm that is working on the interchange design. They have presented an agreement. This is actually for the design and engineering for the interchange. Should the sales tax pass on August 2nd, they would be able to start immediately with that design and continue moving forward. As you remember, we're under very tight timeframes to keep this project moving to meet our timelines. So this contract is subject, and it's listed, to the passage of the sales tax. Otherwise, it is void and will not apply. Total for engineering for the interchange project is $1,323,021.34.
Questions? Any questions on that? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the engineering agreement for design of the interchange from CMT in the amount of $1,323,021.34.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Miller. Vote please.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, we'll be hearing from our Economic Development Director, which I got it out right that time, not like I did on Saturday. Michelle Swinton.
Good evening. I'd like to note for you tonight that I have had contact with a business that I met at Recon in Las Vegas, and they are interested in the area of the possible new interchange. He requested that we keep him up to date on that, so as things progress, I will keep him informed. I had contact from another real estate agent that heard about the possible new interchange, and he has 2 clients that would be interested in the area if that comes in. And thought that was interested. And I know it was in the paper a while ago about Bill Moore and East Central Broadcast looking at the property in Pinckney, so I followed up with him to see how things are going with that. And they are still working on the project. There's one more thing they need, and then hopefully if that comes back, we may have a contract on what was the former IDA property.
Awesome.
I thought what was really interesting about your report this time is how the discussion of the new interchange has brought other companies' attention to the city of Warrenton. If you read, the billboard you see out there, the interchange to nowhere. Well, obviously, if the person doesn't look at the comprehensive plan, what the citizens of the community have said, we're willing to look at for growth, for expansion, for what should go there. And this, to me, tells me that if we do something, there are people who have an interest in reacting to the investment the citizens are going to make. So I was very encouraged when I read your comprehensive, your report for this month, because I really think when we stimulate things and when we do things, that we will draw attention, and clearly this is an indication that that's going on. So, I think we need to stay focused on the task.
So Gary, I think what I'm hearing is you say that this could be an overpass to somewhere, not nowhere.
Well, I think that's exactly right. Like I said,
Appreciate that.
like I said, if a person says that and they don't take the time to look at the comprehensive plan and see what the citizens said the eventual future of the overpass could be, they're really deceiving the public, in my opinion. And they're showing no knowledge of what we've been doing over the last few months with public input and public participation. That's all I gotta say.
All right.
Ditto.
Any other questions? Comments? Thank you, Michelle. Next, we'll be hearing from Maintenance and Grounds Director Brad Bruzy.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Have my monthly report for June. Grass cutting is up was up from last month, along with some of the maintenance. Grass is growing probably more now than it has, so it's really taken off here, and it's basically what we're doing, trying to do is keep everything cut.
I have a bizarre question on your report. Do we do all the grave layouts?
Yes.
So if we see 23, that means there's been 23 burials out at the cemetery. Is that typical of what we get in a normal year in terms of usage?
Now, on the layouts,
Yeah. We're at
that's
20
maintenance, to 22.5? Or what are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking at 23
Year
year to date. So
Oh,
I'm just
year to
wondering-
date, yes.
I just wondering
Oh,
if
yeah.
that's typical.
Some months we run 4 or 5.
Okay.
I mean, it just kind of comes in spurts. Usually if we have 1, we have 3.
Okay.
It's just kind of a weird thing. They usually come in 3s or 4s or.
Okay. Just
So.
curious if this is a typical, I mean, one month you have 9, which
Yeah.
is really unusual.
That was a bad month.
That's a
Yeah.
bad month, so, okay.
Any other questions? Comments? All right, thank you, Brett. Next, we'll be hearing from Chief of Police, Greg Hottishell.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. And Board, good evening. First thing I have this evening is the police report, the monthly police report from June 2016. Again, we have a discrepancy between last year and this year for the month. The only thing that I can attribute that to is the change over to ITI. So we're continuing to look at that, but it's just, I have no idea what the difference is in calls. I'm thinking it's the way that they're getting logged over at dispatch. The other thing that I wanted to talk about tonight is an operational issue that you guys may have seen, or once I bring it to your attention, you'll probably absolutely see as you go forward. In light of everything that's going on in the country right now with regard to police officers, we are running 2 officers to virtually every call when it's absolutely possible. So there was a time when I first came to the city of Warrenton that every traffic stop that they made, they rolled 2 cars to. And, at that time it was a little ridiculous, so we backed that off, and that seemed to be really appreciated. But now, if they're making a traffic stop, we're running 2 deep on those. And as I said, almost every call that they're going on, they're running at least 2 deep, just for officer safety. I hope at some point the world changes and we don't have to do that anymore, but as of right now, into the foreseeable future, that's what we're gonna do. So, just so you all know, and if anybody asks you, that's why we're doing it.
Thanks for the explanation.
No problem. Any questions about the monthly report?
Yeah, I had a couple. I never noticed before, like you had responses to back pain, blood draw, and breathing problems. Is that when an officer goes initially ahead of the ambulance, or is it a routine that if the ambulance gets this type of call, that an officer would follow if available?
Right, yeah, if, again, going back to before I came here, they didn't run assist to ambulances, and actually for a few years after I came here, they didn't do that. And we started running on assist to them, and it was interesting at first because the ambulance district was like, why are you guys showing up on our calls? And we're like, well, we're here to help you out as best as we can. And once they sort of wrapped their brain around that, they started training the guys about where certain equipment is on their rigs, and how to pull the stretcher off of the rig and put it back on and all that. And it's turned into be a really good partnership. So yes, the short answer is we run on all those ambulance calls, and I gave you the long answer, but that's why we do it.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
How much closer are we on moving on to the detective process? Because I'm
We're
noticing that
interviewing tomorrow.
Detective Black's kind of racking up the
Yes.
hours, and I'm sure he'd appreciate
Yeah,
that.
we're interviewing tomorrow, and we hope to fill
Excellent.
that very soon.
Thank you for proceeding forward with that. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no problem. He does too.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. I appreciate the thorough backgrounds, but I know that's got to drive him nuts being there
It
before.
does. Well, and right now the lieutenant is helping out
Excellent.
with
Yeah.
the backgrounds as well. and
Kind of
trying to-
figured you wouldn't let them swarm.
Yeah, trying to help move that forward, so.
All right.
All right, the
Questions?
second thing I have is approval for out-of-state travel for Officer Swafford. This goes back to Special Olympics and the torch run. As a result of the great work that he and actually Officer Tweet did last year with Special Olympics, we actually got a partial scholarship to Phoenix this year for the international conference. We're on the hook to get him out there, because the travel part, but his conference fees are paid for, as well as his room out there. So just looking for approval to send him out in September to Phoenix.
Anybody have any comments or questions?
Make a motion, we approve the travel request.
Well, give me 1 second. I'm going to tell you, I think this is excellent. I know how hard you guys have worked. I've watched and kind of been privy to be there for some of the behind the scenes. I'm just going to put this out there. This is the second time we've been invited to something by Special Olympics. So I think people need to know that. They may not remember last year we were invited as well. So the effort isn't going unnoticed, and I appreciate it. I think the public should take notice as well.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alderman.
Yeah, so I make a motion, we approve the travel out of state.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Deloy. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. And just one final comment, if I may, about our Tippecott from Saturday. El Jimador was absolutely wonderful. They basically gave us full access, let us pretty much set up wherever we wanted to. I know we were in their way quite a bit, and they worked around us, but man, it was a great event. It was absolutely a great event, probably the best one that we've had, all told. So just a shout out to El Jimador for what they did for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, we'll be hearing from zoning officer and building commissioner, Jack Hand.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. You have my copy of my monthly building and code enforcement report. Typical for this time of year, weeds is the #1 item that we've, for property maintenance, that we've sent out courtesy notices for, followed by unlicensed vehicles and trash. And hopefully tomorrow or the next day, we'll issue our 7th new residential start permit for the year. So that's more than double of last year.
Great.
Any questions or comments? Anything further?
That's it. Thank you,
I
sir.
appreciate it, Jack. Thank you. And the next would be hearing from Public Works Director Guy Jeevers.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. First item is the monthly report. One of the things that the water department's done is they swapped out 42 water meters, replaced the old ones with new ones with radio reads. Sewer department did 8,075 feet of monthly flushing. That's out doing routine flushing in the city mains. We had 5 sewer calls. 2 were on private, and 3 was on the city. And then the street department got some overlaying done on Binkley Woods parking lot, Hawthorne Drive, and Oakview's been resurfaced. Those come out real nice.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, the question I had, I sent this to Terry, I don't know if she got with you. I was looking at the water production reports, and this month, which was the report of June, was higher than any other, except for 1 month, any other month in the last almost 5.5 years, and I was kind of curious as to why that number was so high.
We looked at that, and that month, we've had 627 courtesy calls for high usage.
Wow.
So we narrowed that down to where we had to make there was over 100 calls made, and that's anything over 50% of bill.
And so with most of those calls for our usage really turned out to be legitimate
Well,
issues.
and most of them came out to be, well, I watered my garden and watered my grass. And then we have some, I guess, some leaks at the pool too, that the pool is using quite a bit of water.
You'll see me on the next month.
Oh, is that right? There's be a special line for...
There'll be a special line for Karen Cashway's water bill.
I've got a couple calls myself.
Because, I mean, for the public, know what we're talking about. There was over 31,000, I guess this is gallons?
Yeah.
Gallons of water, and compared to 20,000 the prior month, 20,000, 19, 21. And you go back typically at the same time period for most years, you're in the middle to low 20s, and all of a sudden you get this huge number jumping out. It just
And,
looked
yeah,
like-
we also looked too on the weather service, when it was high prior to that, it was warm. So if you have any other questions on monthly report?
Any other questions? Comments? All right.
Next item I have would be a change order number 1. And there's 2 items. The first item is a mixer pump. It was originally set up to be a mixer just in the lift station, to keep the water stirred up, keep the odor down. The new mixers are on each pump, so when the pump comes on, the mixer comes on, and then they'll rotate between each one. Otherwise, the mixer originally was just continuously running and would have its own separate controls. So that change order come up to be $7,425. And it's $2,475 per pump. So I need approval for that change order. Any questions?
But they're on together.
Yeah,
They're on one change order.
One change order, 2 items.
Okay.
Yes. Let's go ahead and discuss that second.
So that 74 is for both?
No.
No, it's just for one.
You need to go ahead and talk.
The
For
second
both
order.
pumps. It's
Okay.
for both pumps for the first part.
Pumps.
For two pumps?
Yeah. The
There's-
second change order is,
Yes, it's one change order, 2 items. That was the first item.
3 pumps up, correct?
That's correct, 3 pumps in
That's
the
it.
station. The next item is the wet well had ductile iron, which is metal pipe that comes out, and then it's stubbed up to concrete reinforcement. Well, the concrete won't butt up to the ductile iron and get a good seal, so the change order was to make it all ductile iron, so it's leaving the lift station to a manhole, or the wet well from the wastewater plant to a manhole, so it's one pipe, no connections, one piece. Otherwise, we would have had a joint seam, and they poured concrete around it, we could have problems with leakage. So that's the second change order, is to make it one pipe.
Total change order of $14,325, is that what you're?
Total, yeah, $14,325 for change order number 1.
Is there any questions about any of the 1 or 2 change orders?
Make a motion, we approve the change order
I'll second it.
for the amount of $14,325.
Motion made by Alderman Shell Harvey, seconded by Alderman Miller. Roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Kesslerlein?
yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Next item I have is for Cochran Engineer to do a water tower hydraulic evaluation, and that's to get the towers full to this capacity. And the budget amount was $2,000, and that's what the cost is.
Questions on this item?
So what is the objective?
DNR requires you to have your towers to its fullest capability.
Okay,
But the towers are all not the same height
Same
elevation.
elevation.
okay.
And each tower, like one tower will pump to another tower. If that one's full and Warrior's down, its elevation's down a little bit, it'll overflow Warrior. So we need to get it more dialed in closer so we can fill them to its capacity.
Where they don't overflow.
I'm sorry,
Where they won't overflow as well.
I still didn't hear
Where they
you.
won't overflow as well.
That's correct. Or set alarms off. If they get to a certain point, they're gonna start sending alarms off, that they're getting close to overflowing.
What does it mean? It's hard to imagine that a tower that's contained in a ball, so to speak, would overflow. What does that mean? That there's a lot of water pressure
Yeah,
inside?
no, there's a pipe up top with an
Okay.
overflow valve, and then it runs out on the ground.
Okay.
And then, but it alarms before it gets to that point, and then we can shut it off, what we need to do from home, and then figure out what's going on. And that's through our computer.
Any other questions or comments? All right, entertain a motion to approve the water tower hydraulic elevation proposal for Cochran Engineering in the amount of $2,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, seconded by Alderman Schultz. If they have a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Next item I have is for Cochran Engineering to do a water set system pressure evaluation. That's throughout the city. They'll do flow testing to see where our pressure's at, what our volume of water is, and then they'll give us that information and put it on the spreadsheet and see where, make sure we got enough water pressure. Most of this stuff is not required by DNR, but when you have it, and DNR comes in and does their inspections, we have that information farmed. And that, the cost of that is $11,300, and that's what I budgeted the money for. That was my budget money.
Any questions on this item? All right, I'll entertain a
How good
motion.
is this? I have a question.
Okay.
How good is this, how long will this be good for? It's not required by DNR, I mean, it is required, but they're not, how long will this study last? Will it
Well,
last a
it'll-
year, will it
it'll-
last 2 years?
It'll go to, if another big subdivision moves in, another growth, if the growth picks up and we start taking off, then we'll know where our flow is and what our pressure is at certain parts of town. So then if we need to build something somewhere else, we got that data to go off of.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the water system pressure evaluation proposal from Cochran Engineering in the amount of $11,300.
So moved. I'll second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have, and I don't know whose question this is, and I don't expect it to be answered tonight, but, you know, biggest capital project we have going on is this whole water sewer issue expansion, and, you know, we always see bits and pieces. I wonder if at some point in time, somebody can kind of sit down and give us kind of an overview as to where we're at. I mean, you talked about Water Street tonight, the lift station, and, you know, and just kind of reorient us to the whole project, because it's been a while since we approved it, and I'd like to know what's working. We know some stuff we have been held up on, and it'd just be interesting to kind of get an overview from my perspective. We could do it the next meeting, so there's time to prepare it. I would appreciate that.
We can do that.
All right, any questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the regular Board of Aldermen meeting and go into executive session for real estate. Here's a second. Okay, motion made by Alderman Shorby, seconded by Alderman Miller. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz? Yes. Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly? Yes. Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Passes 6-0. We are so adjourned. Thank you, folks.